Hey guys, Chicky the Main, aka Deboo, with a video forecast update. This forecast update effective around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Labor Day, Monday, September 5th, 2022. Happy Labor Day to all of you who are celebrating. We always like to start our videos off by thanking longtime followers and by welcoming new ones by letting you know that we are primarily a surf and marine forecaster covering the North Atlantic waters, looking for weather patterns and or systems that create high seas and or high surf. You can't have high surf without high seas. That means during summertime, we're tracking or looking for tropical cyclones, tropical storms, hurricanes, and during the wintertime, we're looking for extratropical cyclones or storm force lows in the North Atlantic. These two type of systems are swell producers, and here we are at the peak of the hurricane season coming up, climatologically marked by September 10th. Now, as of right now, there are two systems that pose a threat to land, and the first one is over in the Eastern Pacific. Now, that's in the bottom left-hand portion of your screen. That is either Tropical Storm K or soon-to-be Hurricane K over in the Eastern Pacific. Now, if you remember, that vorticity spin that's right here, by the way, that little shadow that you see there in this loop, that's the sun coming up, okay? So we go from darkness to complete visible, but that is K right down here in the bottom left-hand portion of your screen. Now, if you remember, that was the 20%, the vorticity spin was the 20% chance of development that was in here in the Gulf of Honduras last week. And if you remember, the GFS was the only model sending it to the Bay of Campeche in here, Northwest Gulf, and developing it into a hurricane, while the other models had pushed it into the Eastern Pacific. And over time, the GFS succumbed to the other models and pushed it into the Eastern Pacific. So that's that right there. Now, if you saw our post a couple of days ago talking about K chasing Javier, they just had Javier. I think Javier's been downgraded and is no longer a tropical storm. But what we meant by that is that K will take a similar track to what Javier took and threaten the Baja Peninsula. Switch you real quick over to the National Hurricane Center's forecast track showing K turning into a hurricane here in the next 24 hours or so, and then threatening the Baja Peninsula. So that's one, and the other is going to be Earl. And Earl may threaten Bermuda later on in the week. We'll show you that here in just a few minutes in the models. And if you are not a surfer or a mariner, right now there is no threat to the U.S. of any landfalling tropical cyclone. The only one that could at the moment could be Earl, and that would be for the folks living in the Northeast if something were to change. And I say if something were to change because we've got a long time to watch Earl, and things can change in the atmosphere that can end up changing the ultimate forecast. So those are some of the things that we'll look at when we go to look at the models, because last night's OZ run of the Euro takes a little jog to the left that kind of gives you a little bit of pause. And so we'll look at that in the models here in just a few moments. But surfers, looks like a possible major swell event is setting up now in real time. Now, I know a lot of you guys think that that's a bunch of hype, but we're going to show it to you, and just so that we have a better understanding. And so one of the things in a comment section on Instagram the other day, you know, somebody threw out there, well, I hope you don't think that 2 to 3 feet is a major swell event. Well, the saying goes is just because it may be flat at your break doesn't mean that it's not full-on surf alert somewhere else. So we are forecasting for a basin, not for your particular spot. We never tell you how big the surf is going to be where you live. We only tell you when there's swell in the water, and when it's the big ones that set up like this is what gives it notoriety. So we've been talking about, if you look up here in the North Atlantic, the very top right-hand portion of your screen, there's a large-scale gale that developed in here. Okay, and then now you have Hurricane Danielle, or soon to be again Hurricane Danielle, spinning in here like this. And this is Earl in here. You've got the frontal boundary in here, and there's two areas of low pressure, upper level lows, that are spinning on the back side of this front. And how this major swell event may set up starts off with this gale. Now, normally, if Danielle was not here or Earl was not here, the gale up in the North Atlantic is not enough to send a swell down in here to the Southwest Atlantic. There's just too much distance between that. But when you take combinations of northeast fetch through here, so there's northeast fetch in here now, northeast fetch in here now, and there's fixing to be northeast fetch in here. And then if you saw our post last week, we talked about the wild card of a area of low pressure moving off the mid-Atlantic in here. And so that area of low pressure that may develop along the front and start to create a northeast fetch in here. Now we've got multiple sources of northeast fetch. Okay, you with me, guys? And now the other wild card that just moved in, and I'll have to adjust my camera just a minute, okay, is in the right hand corner of the screen. Okay, now it's been 20%, 30% chance of development for the last 3 to 4 days. I have not highlighted it because it wasn't going to be a swell producer and it wasn't going to threaten the United States or the islands, so I didn't see a sense in it. But last night's run of the OOZ Euro throws a little interesting little trick into the mix, okay? And it's only one run, but we'll show it to you. But this looks like this has a shot to develop, and it's going to lift off towards the northwest. You can already see the track setting up for it. And as Earl moves up into here, and it moves up into here, these two may intermingle, okay? And you can see how Danielle, with this counterclockwise flow, the tail end of the trough in here, okay, Earl is searching for a spot, more than likely right in here. Now, this is counter of what the National Hurricane Center is showing. National Hurricane Center is over here. Okay, but the way that the imagery sets up for me now, please visit the National Hurricane Center for all official forecast info at www.hurricanes.gov for all official info. So now this is counter to what they're showing on their track, okay? To the left a little bit, okay? And we'll go through that again with you in the models here in just a few moments. But this gale up here started producing seas in excess of 20 feet. I think Danielle had seas excess of 30 feet. And then Earl, in the next 48 hours, is also supposed to produce seas in excess of 30 feet. So, guys, if you're on a boat or a freighter, I would consider that probably a major swell event, because I've got 3 areas of low pressure, possibly a 4th, producing high seas. So the other part of major swell event, if you missed our last video, okay, what we consider a major swell event is a system that produces seas in excess of 25 feet. Okay, we've already got 1, 2, and that gale up there in the north would have been 3. I think it was just shy of 25 feet, but also has local impacts. In other words, if there was a hurricane that was in the middle of the central Atlantic producing seas of 25 feet, and there was no surf for the East Coast, or no surf for the Caribbean, or no surf for Africa, okay, well, it might be a major swell event. It's equivalent to a tornado being in the middle of the woods. Nobody sees it, you know? So, but let's switch you over here. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to switch you over to the OOZ run of the Euro model from last night. And so you can barely see it, but at the top right-hand portion of the frame, you can see the isobars from that gale that's in the North Atlantic near Ireland. You have Hurricane Danielle that is southeast of Newfoundland right in here. And then here's Earl down here at the bottom. And then here is that 30% chance of development off of Africa, off of West Africa in here. And so this is real time now. I'll advance the model for you, and then you'll watch now, because everything's getting ready to go into motion, and that's why we said this is the beginning phase of the possibility of a major swell event coming. And so this is about to unfold here. Now this is next 72 hours. This is on Thursday, and you can see that Earl starts to become jettisoned. And then you also see that area lift off away from Africa, and it's, guess what? It's just like, what? Okay, chasing Javier, but that's going to be the F name, which I'm drawing a blank on at the moment, chasing Earl, right? You with me? We just saw Javier getting chased by K, and then here we go here. This is inside 5 days. This is for Saturday. All right, now I'm gonna back up a few minutes because I want you to watch the northeast fetch here that comes behind Danielle. Okay, Danielle starts to move out. A new area of low pressure starts to come in off the mid-Atlantic right there at the Outer Banks, and then also off of Newfoundland. In 96 to 120 hours, notice the intensity of that tightens up. And then look at this northeast fetch now that's aimed in here at the mid-Atlantic as Earl and high pressure get stacked on top of it. And that system that's moving off Africa now starts to interact with Earl. You with me? So this is strong northeast winds of 25, 35, 40 knots in here, getting in here to Earl, creating northeast ground swell. And that's all aimed at Florida, guys. Okay, now if it doesn't happen, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just showing you what the model's showing. And it's inside 5 days. I know a lot of you guys give me a hard time because I'm always showing 10-day model images. Okay, well, it's got to start somewhere, guys, until we get into a real-time phase, and now we're within 5 days. All right, let me advance the model some more for you. Because if you notice right then, look, high pressure comes in to try to block between day 6 and day 7. Hold on, there's computer's hanging up on me. And then look what happens with that high pressure block. Now guys, this is the European model inside 8 days, one of the most reliable models out there. Doesn't mean that it's right. 8 days is a long ways out. All I'm saying is, if I advance all the way to day 10, we get another system moving off West Africa. But look at Earl now. Earl starts to threaten Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. It's one run of more to come. But until Earl gets to latitude 30, which is in about 96 hours, we're going to be able to see what's getting ready to happen here. And a jog to the left is not out of the question, although the GFS goes off to the right. Now, from a surfer's perspective, we want the Euro to verify. You know, somebody gave me a hard time the other day and says, so what do? You pick the model that best shows that what's going to be the surf and you hype it up? Something to that effect. No, I'm going to pick the least one and tell you no surf is coming, or at least give you no hope. Going to switch you over to the Windy app and show it to you in wind. Give this a second here. All right, so here's this large-scale gale that's over here towards Ireland. Again, northeast fetch, putting northeast swell in the water. Normally, this by itself would not be enough to create swell to come to Florida. It's the combinations of these things that I'm fixing to show you that's going to set up the now near likelihood of a major swell event coming. There's going to be a lot of water moving around in the ocean. Hey, look, pareidolia. While we're looking at this, imagine there was another little eye right here. Look, there's counterclockwise circulation right there. That's northeast winds right there. But imagine that. Look, that would be the nose and that would be the other eye. Here's the mouth of the cat. See it? When we talk about pareidolia. All right, let me advance this for you. This is going into Wednesday. And by the way, Earl swell should start filling in earnest on Wednesday. It's already starting to show on the buoys. The Northeast Bahama buoy, I think the last post was a solid 5 foot east-southeast of swell height at 10 seconds. So the swell production stage started yesterday or the day before as the system started to intensify. I think max seas ended up being about 15 feet, and that's going to be in that east-southeast swell component. And then now forecast 72 hours, which we'll show you that here in just a minute as well. Seas are forecast to build into 30 feet. So that southerly swell that's developing on the underbelly of the system, you know, that's aiming towards New England, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. But this northeast fetch that's coming out of the North Atlantic is likely going to cancel it out. But look along the mid-Atlantic here. Area of low pressure developing, just like we talked about. This is going into Thursday and this weekend. You've got Danielle on her way into the North Atlantic, but look, we've got northeast fetch coming up in here near Newfoundland like this. Now, one of the things that I pointed out to a good friend is that just like you have the Bahama Shadow block or the Caribbean block or the Outer Banks block as far as the land block is concerned, depending on exactly where this sets up, if the northeast fetch that's on the upper part of these two systems right here is coming in and hitting on the backside of Newfoundland, well, guess what? That's not going to produce any swell because that's blowing it all into land. But if this northeast fetch gets out over open ocean, northeast fetch cranking up this way, northeast fetch cranking up this way, and easterly fetch coming in on the backside of this one right here, guys, that's a ton of water that's going to be moving out of the North Atlantic this way, and a ton of water that's going to be moving out of the East Atlantic this way. Let me advance the model for you a little bit more, and we're going to zoom in a little bit. Give me a second here. Let me get this set up, because this gets really, really super interesting. And I'm sorry if I'm taking too long or whatever, but bear with me, guys. I put a lot of time and effort into this to bring you guys the info. I don't get paid for this. I put a lot of time into it. All right, got you going into Friday now. Check this out. This is fixing to get wild. Again, northeast fetch coming out. Look at that northeast fetch right there. I bet you can guess where that's heading, or getting ready to head. But again, northeast fetch in here like this. Now this is going to be seas 30, 35 feet in here. This is going to be seas at least 15 to 20. Okay? And then let me take you into Saturday. So as you can see, for those in the mid-Atlantic, you know, local wind conditions are going to dictate whether or not you have a good time or not. But for my peeps in South Florida, hello, look at that. For my peeps in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean, look at that. Oh my God. You guys think I hype shit? Into Monday. Bear with me. Oh, by the way, look, did you see that? Did you see that? Oh, that was a bounce back. That right there, if this scenario pans out right there, this ought to go down in one of the record books right here. No hype, guys. No hype. Listen, that's all I got for you for now. Stay tuned for the next update.